Jai Hind students, welcome to my YouTube channel. Students, winning doesn't always mean being first. Winning actually means that you are doing better than you have done before. Actually, students, doing better at something than before can also be considered a win.
With that positive note, students, let's begin today's session. Today, we are going to discuss a very important topic of Bernoulli's theorem. And thereafter, we will discuss several applications of Bernoulli's theorem as well. Now, students, Bernoulli's theorem finds great importance in several branches of hydrodynamics. And Bernoulli's theorem, which is actually the Bernoulli's equation, it can be derived from the principle of conservation of energy. Now, before we start discussing its mathematical part, let us try to understand the concept first. Let us watch this animation.
Bernoulli's equation is a simple but incredibly important equation in physics and engineering. It essentially describes the relationship between the pressure, velocity, and elevation of a flowing fluid. It has countless applications. We can use it to explain how planes generate lift or to calculate how fast liquid will drain from a container. We will explore these applications and a few more later on. But let's start by reviewing the equation itself. It was first published by Swiss physicist Daniel Bernoulli in 1738 and it looks like this. P plus half rho v square plus rho gh is equal to constant. The equation states that the sum of these three terms remains constant. Each of the terms is a pressure. The first term is the static pressure, which is actually the fluid pressure. Then we have the dynamic pressure, which is a function of the fluid density rho and velocity v. And it actually represents the fluid kinetic energy per unit volume. And the third term is the hydrostatic pressure, which is the pressure exerted by the fluid due to the gravity. Small g is the acceleration due to gravity and h, it's the elevation, which is just its height above the reference level. This is the pressure form of the equation, but it can also be presented in the head form and the energy form. We can think of Bernoulli's equation as a statement of the conservation of energy. It says that along a streamlined flow, the sum of the pressure energy, kinetic energy, and the potential energy remains constant. This is really valuable information that can help us analyze a whole range of fluid-related problems. The equation does have a few limitations, which I will cover in the episode. But for now, the important thing to note is that it can only be applied when the flow is streamlined. In order to prove Bernoulli's theorem, let us consider the liquid to be incompressible and non-viscous and having steady flow. Imagine an incompressible and non-viscous liquid to be flowing through a pipe of varying cross-sectional area. And let the liquid enters the pipe with a normal velocity v1 at its wide end A of cross-sectional area A1 and at a height h1 above the reference level. Also suppose it leaves the pipe with a normal velocity v2 at the narrow end of the cross-sectional area A2 and which is at a height h2 above the Earth's surface. The liquid moves from end A to end B under the action of pressure difference P1 minus P2. Since cross-sectional area A1 is greater than A2, therefore V1 is less than V2. It is as per the equation of continuity. Velocity of the liquid flow is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area.
So in the video, what we have discussed is Bernoulli's theorem states that the total energy, that is the pressure energy, potential energy and the kinetic energy of an incompressible and non-viscous fluid in a steady flow through a pipe remains constant throughout the flow, provided there is no source or sink of the fluid along the length of the pipe. Now obviously students, this statement is based on the assumption that there is no loss of energy due to friction. So we are aware of the energies possessed by a flowing fluid, right? In the previous lecture, we have discussed it. We know that the pressure energy per unit volume, that's given by P by rho. The potential energy per unit volume of the fluid, that's given by GH. And the kinetic energy per unit volume of the fluid, it's given by half V square. Now, the sum of the pressure energy, the potential energy and the kinetic energy per unit volume, that is constant. So this is Bernoulli's equation. This is known as Bernoulli's equation, right? Now students, in order to prove this Bernoulli's theorem, we have to make the following assumptions. First is, the fluid under consideration is considered to be incompressible. Then the liquid or the fluid is considered to be non-viscous, and the flow is considered to be streamlined or steady, and the velocity of the liquid is considered to be less than that of its critical velocity. So students, in order to verify this particular statement, let us assume a liquid to be flowing through a pipe of varying cross-section area as shown on the figure, right? Suppose this is end A of the pipe, and let us consider this to be the end B of the pipe. Through this end, the liquid enters, say with velocity v1, and the cross-section area be small a1. And through this end, the liquid comes out of the pipe, say with velocity v2, right? And the cross-section area of this section, suppose it is A2. Clear, students? And H1, H2, these are the heights of the two sections of the tube A and B from this reference level. This is, suppose, the reference level. So, we have considered rho be the density of the incompressible liquid. Suppose rho is the density. Now students, we are already aware of the equation of continuity, isn't it? Now, in accordance with the equation of continuity, the mass m of the liquid crossing any section of the pipe per second, it should be constant. That is, the mass of the liquid crossing any section of the pipe per second is constant and is given by A1 V1 rho. A1 V1 is the volume of the liquid entering per second at section A of the pipe. When it is multiplied by density, it will become mass of the liquid entering at section A of the pipe per second. It is equal to the mass of the liquid coming out of the section B of the pipe per second, and it will be A2 V2 rho, and it is equal to m, say. So what we get is A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2 is equal to m by rho. So put this as equation number 1, right? Here m is the mass of the liquid entering or coming out of any section of the pipe per second. Clear, students? Now suppose here P1 be the pressure, and at this end the pressure be P2. Now since we have assumed the liquid to be flowing from A to B, therefore P1 must be greater than P2. Clear, students? Also, we have considered cross-section area A1 to be greater than cross-section area A2. Now, as per the principle of continuity, the velocity of the liquid flow is inversely proportional to the cross-section area. Therefore, V1, it should be less than V2. Here the streamlines are crowded, and here the streamlines are less crowded, indicating that the velocity of the liquid flow in section A is less as compared to the velocity of the liquid flow in section B, right? So the liquid flows from A to B under the influence of the pressure difference P1 minus P2. Clear, students? So the liquid moves from end A to end B under the action of pressure difference P1 minus P2. So let us find out the work done per second on the liquid at the end A. So let us find out work done per second on the liquid at the end A of the pipe. Now work done is force into distance, isn't it? So force is pressure multiplied by area. At this end the pressure is P1. Area is A1. And distance per unit time, that's velocity V1. So this is actually the work done per unit time or work done per second on the liquid at end A. Now the liquid reaches the end B against pressure P2. Here the pressure would be along this direction. Force would be P1 A1 along this direction. Here the force would be P2 into A2 in this direction. So the liquid reaches the end B against the pressure P2, that is against a force P2A2. So at the end B, the liquid covers a distance V2 in 1 second, and therefore work done per second by the liquid at the end B of the pipe, it would be equal to P2A2, this is the force, and the distance per second, that would be V2. Clear? Now, as I have told you, P1 is greater than P2. Therefore, net work is to be done by the pressure energy in moving the liquid from A to B in 1 second. So therefore, net amount of work done, P1A1 V1 is greater than P2A2 V2. Therefore, net amount of work done per second on the liquid, right? So net work done by the pressure energy per second in moving the liquid from A to B, it would be given by P1A1 V1 minus P2A2 V2. So therefore, students, net work done, it may be written as P1 A1 V1 from equation 1, it can be written as m by rho minus P2, again A2 V2 from equation 1 is also m by rho. That is, work done by the pressure energy in moving the liquid from end A to B in 1 second, it would be given by P1 minus P2 m by rho. Put this as equation number 2. Now students, when the mass m of the liquid flows in 1 second from end A to end B, then its height increases from h1 to height h2. So therefore it results in the increase in the potential energy of the liquid per second. So increase in potential energy of the liquid per second it would be equal to, this final potential energy would be mgh2 minus initial potential energy would be mgh1, right? And m is the mass that is crossing per second. So it will be potential energy of the liquid per second. So it will be equal to mg h2 minus h1. Put this as equation number 3. Also students, when the mass m of the liquid flows in 1 second from A to B, then the velocity also increases from V1 to V2. Here the streamlines are getting crowded due to this narrow cross section. So as the liquid moves from A to B, its velocity increases. So there will be an equivalent increase in the kinetic energy of the liquid. So increase in kinetic energy of the liquid per second it would be equal to final kinetic energy at point B, that is half m v2 square minus initial kinetic energy at end A, that is half m v1 square. So it can be rearranged like this: half m, it will be v2 square minus v1 square. Put this as equation number 4. Now students, we all are aware of work energy conservation principle, isn't it? Work done by the pressure energy per second, it would result in an equivalent increase in the potential energy per second and the increase in the kinetic energy per second. That is, as per work energy theorem, work done by pressure energy per second it would be equal to increase in potential energy per second plus increase in kinetic energy of the liquid under consideration per second. So let's substitute the values from equation number 2, 3 and 4. Now work done by the pressure energy per second is P1 minus P2 m by rho, right? And it is equal to increase in the potential energy per second. That can be substituted from equation 3, which is mg h2 minus h1 plus the increase in the kinetic energy per second. That can be substituted from equation 4, which is half m v2 square minus v1 square, right? So students, m is common, it will get cancelled out, so we'll be left with p1 by rho. Simply try to rearrange the terms, right? Over here, what we get is GH1, right? It will be GH1 P1 by rho plus GH1, and this m will get cancelled, minus half V1 square. When it comes over here, we'll get half V1 square, which in turn it would be equal to minus P2 by rho. When it goes this side, the sign will get changed, so we'll be having P2 by rho plus GH2 plus half V2 square, half V2 square. So which clearly indicates that P by rho plus GH plus half V square, it is equal to constant. So this is the mathematical verification of Bernoulli's theorem. Clear, students? This is actually the most convenient form of Bernoulli's equation. However, this Bernoulli's equation can be expressed in some other forms as well, as we have discussed in the video also, right? Multiplying both the sides of this equation by density, that is rho, we get P plus rho GH plus half rho V square, it is equal to constant. Here in this case, each term has got the dimensions of pressure. So this is another expression for Bernoulli's theorem, right? Again, dividing both the sides of this particular equation by g, what we get is, let's divide both sides by small g, which is acceleration due to gravity. What we get is P by rho g plus h plus v square by 2g. It is equal to constant, right? So in this equation, each term has got the dimensions of length. The term P by rho g, it is known as the pressure head. Here, P by rho g, it is known as the pressure head. This is known as pressure head. It has got the dimension same as that of length. While V square by g, this is known as the velocity head. V square by 2g, it is known as the velocity head. And the third term, that is h, it is known as the gravitational head. It is known as gravitational head. In case the liquid flows through a horizontal pipe, that is when H1 is equal to H2, then this equation, it will get reduced to P by rho plus half V square, it would be equal to constant. Because in this case, as the liquid flows from A to B, there won't be any change in the potential energy of the liquid. Thus, this equation will get reduced to P by rho plus half V square, it would be equal to constant. Because this term would be also constant, isn't it? So, this is the pressure energy per unit mass of the fluid, and this is the kinetic energy per unit mass of the fluid. So, in that case, the pressure energy per unit mass of the fluid plus kinetic energy per unit mass of the fluid is constant. So basically, when pressure energy increases, then the kinetic energy decreases, and vice versa. Therefore, the increase in the velocity of the fluid will result in low pressure in that particular region, right? And vice versa. So this concept can be very much made use of in understanding certain apparatuses working on the basis of Bernoulli's theorem. So this equation is very helpful result, and we shall see in various applications of Bernoulli's theorem that it helps in a great deal in explaining a number of phenomena related to Bernoulli's theorem. Now it's time to discuss some applications of Bernoulli's theorem. And for that, let us watch this animation.
When a spinning ball is thrown with a large speed, then the layer of the air moving above the ball gets retarded and the layer below the ball gets accelerated due to the spin motion. It is because the layer above the ball moves in a direction opposite to that of the spinning ball. On the other hand, the layer below it moves in the direction of the spin. Thus, the velocity and hence kinetic energy of the layer of the air above the ball becomes less than that of below it. Now, as per as Bernoulli's theorem, the pressure energy and hence pressure of the air above the ball becomes greater than that below it. Due to this difference in the pressure on the two sides of the ball, the path of the ball becomes curved. In a storm or cyclone or hurricane, sometimes the light roofs of thatched houses are blown off. This is because, due to the high velocity wind blowing over the roof, the pressure above the roof decreases. As the atmospheric pressure below the roof is greater than the pressure above the roof gets lifted and is blown away by the wind. When the two ships move in parallel directions close to each other, the velocity of water flowing through the narrow region between them is greater than the velocity of outer water. So, according to Bernoulli's theorem, the pressure exerted by the water in this narrow region is less than the pressure of the outer water. Consequently, due to the greater pressure of the outer water, the two ships are attracted towards each other in accordance with the Bernoulli's theorem. A person, while standing close to the platform at a station, experiences a suction effect when a fast train passes by. The fast moving air between the person and the train produces a decrease in the pressure, and the excess pressure on the other side pushes the person towards the train. An atomizer or sprayer is based on Bernoulli's principle. It is used to spray liquid. It is generally used in perfumes and deodorant bottles. It consists of a rubber balloon and a horizontal tube. When the rubber balloon is pressed, the air in the horizontal tube passes with large velocity. According to Bernoulli's theorem, the pressure in the tube will be reduced, but the pressure in the container is equal to atmospheric pressure. This pressure difference makes the liquid rise in the vertical tube. On the top of the vertical tube, the liquid is blown away through the nozzle in the form of fine spray. That is, the air rushing out with large velocity from the balloon blows away the liquid coming out of the nozzle in the form of fine spray. Now let us consider the case of a Bunsen's burner. In Bunsen's burner, the gas escapes through the fine nozzle with an extremely high velocity. It results in lowering of the pressure in the neighborhood of the nozzle. Thus, due to the decrease in the pressure inside the burner, the atmospheric air enters through the holes. This air and the gas mixture rising up produces a flame when ignited.
So, in this short clipping, we have discussed various applications of Bernoulli's theorem. We have discussed the curved path of a spinning ball, blowing off of the roofs of houses during a thunderstorm or cyclone. Then, two ships sailing in the ocean or sea get pulled towards each other if they come close to each other. And another interesting we have discussed is a person while standing near the railway track tends to get pulled towards the train when a fast moving train passes close to him. Then we have also discussed using Bernoulli's theorem the working of an atomizer and the working of Bunsen's burner. There are still some other applications as well which we will discuss. Like, we will discuss airfoil. That is, it is any surface which is actually designed so as to obtain reacting force from the air through which it moves. That is actually known as airfoil, and it provides lift of an aeroplane. The upper face of the foil, airfoil, is more curved than the lower one. So when the streamlines flow past the airfoil, then they split up at the leading edge but join again at the trailing edge. This is the trailing edge. These streamlines above the airfoil follow the curvature of the surface of the airfoil closely. but those at increasing distance from the surface becomes less and less curved. So basically, the streamlines above the foil, as you can see in this diagram, it get crowded. So here, suppose the velocity is v1, and below, suppose its velocity is v2. So here the streamlines are crowded, which indicates that v1 is greater than v2, right? So thus, in accordance with the equation of continuity, the velocity of the air increases in this particular region due to the crowding of streamlines. Now, due to the typical shape of this airfoil, the pressure above the airfoil becomes less than that in the region below the foil. That is, P1 would be less than P2. Here the pressure is suppose P1 and below the pressure is suppose P2. So as a result, this difference of the pressure, P2 is greater than P1, therefore P2 minus P1. This difference of pressure between the upper and the lower surface of the airfoil, it will give rise to an upward lift, which is called dynamic lift. Suppose this is the force due to the pressure P1 and this is the force due to the pressure P2. Now P2 being greater than P1, therefore it will net force, it will act in the upward direction. And this upward lift is known as the dynamic lift on the airfoil and maintain it in air against the gravity. Another very interesting application is the two ping pong balls are suspended side by side as shown in the figure, right? Now when air is blown up through the space between the two, then the pressure P2 within the balls, suppose here the pressure is P2 and air is blown in the region between the two balls, right? So air is blown in this particular region between these two ping pong balls. Then it is found that the pressure P2 within the balls falls below the atmospheric pressure. Suppose P1, P2, they are the atmospheric pressure. So as a result, what happens is this atmospheric pressure P1 will act on the side of the balls and a low pressure region will be created in the region between these two balls. So as a result, what happens, this is P1. So as a result, what happens is due to low pressure over here and due to high pressure in the extreme region, these two ping balls tends to come closer towards each other. So again, due to the increase in the kinetic energy, the pressure energy in this region decreases, and as a result of the pressure difference, the two balls will tend to come closer towards each other. So these are the applications of Bernoulli's theorem. So students, I hope in this particular session you have understood clearly Bernoulli's theorem, various mathematical equation representing Bernoulli's theorem, and then we have discussed numerous applications of Bernoulli's theorem. So students, do revise this topic thoroughly and do join me in my next lecture. Till then, do take very good care of yourself and keep watching my videos. Thank you.